Hi, once again welcome back to Obstetrics and Gynecology videos. Today we are going to see about the major physiological changes that are happening in the maternal body during the time of pregnancy. I request all of you to see the entire video because if you want to understand about the disease conditions which are affecting the pregnancy, and even if you want to understand the normal process of labor, you have to be thorough about the physiological changes during the pregnancy. So I request all of you to see the complete video and understand the basic concepts. First, let us see the changes in the reproductive organs. So we are going to see the changes in the vulva, vagina, uterus, isthmus of the uterus, cervix. And if you are looking into the vulva, it will become edematous and the blood supply to the area will increase. And if you are looking, you can see the superficial varicosities. One reason for the varicose vein or superficial varicosity of the vulval region is increased blood supply, and another reason is when we are discussing about the circulatory system and blood vessels, I will tell you once again that, but here I am just giving an overview. During the time of pregnancy, increased levels of hormones will occur in the body, especially the progesterone. This progesterone will produce the vasodilatation, and along with that increased blood volume also will occur. So vasodilatation, increased blood volume, these two factors, increased vascularity, these two factors contribute to the varicosities of the vulva. And this you can see commonly in the case of multiparous woman, because in the multiparous woman, muscle capacity will be less when comparing with the primipara. Multipara means a woman who is having more than 2 pregnancies. She may be in the 3rd or 4th or 5th pregnancy. So those people are having more risk for getting varicosities. Primigravida means a woman with her first pregnancy. Primipara means a woman with her first delivery. Multi means multiple. And labia minora will be pigmented and hypertrophy. Hypertrophy means the size of the labia minora will increase and it will be pigmented. It will become more black pigmented or brownish pigmentation of the labia minora and majora also will occur. And already I told you that during the pregnancy, all the hormones inside the maternal body will be increasing. Hormone levels will be increasing. So the melanocytic hormone will increase, progesterone will increase, estrogen will increase. So we know the action of this melanocytic hormone, it is giving pigmentation to the skin. So when the amount of melanocytic hormone is increasing, melanin production also will increase, and that increased melanin production is the reason for the hyperpigmentation of the labia minora. And next, if you are coming to the vagina, the vaginal walls also will become hypertrophied, that is size of the cells will increase over there and it will become edematous and blood supply will increase, that is it will become more vascular. It is not only to the vagina, complete reproductive organs and the entire maternal body circulation will increase. Already I told you that blood volume will increase and the blood vessels will dilate. These two things are the factors which are contributing to the increased vascularization. And increased blood supply of the venous plexus surrounding the walls. Venous return also will increase because blood vessels means it includes both arteries and veins. When the arteries are getting dilated because of the progesterone, the veins also will get dilate and more supply will be, more dilatation of the veins will be there. That is one reason, that is also a reason for the varicosities of the lower extremities and that vulval area during the time of pregnancy. And the length of the anterior vaginal wall increase and the secretion of the vagina, that is vaginal secretions will increase. It will become thin and curdy white. This increased vaginal secretions during the pregnancy is known as leukorrhea. That is, it is not having any foul smell. Its amount will increase. It will become thin and curdy white. So that is known as, that increased vaginal secretion is named as leukorrhea, and the pH of the vagina will become more acidic. It will be between 3.5 to 6, and this prevents the entry of microorganisms from outside into the uterus. This acidic. And if you are coming to the uterus, we know that the normal uterus is the non-pregnant stage. The uterus is having only 60 grams weight and it is only 7.5 centimeter length, and its the weight is 60 grams and 7.5 centimeter length. We have seen the anatomy and physiology of uterus, female reproductive system in a previous video. If you are having any doubt, you please go through the anatomy and physiology of female reproductive system. And during the time of pregnancy, what will happen means, that is near to the term, that is after 36 weeks, the weight of the uterus will increase up to 1 kilogram, that is 900 to 1000 grams will occur, and the length of the uterus will increase up to 35 centimeter, that is 7.5 centimeter will become 35, 60 gram will become 9000 to 1000. And even changes will occur in the other parts of the body, that is in the cervix and in the isthmus of the body, uterus, and in the uterine body also the changes will occur. That is, complete uterus will get changed. Increased growth and enlargement of the body of the uterus will occur. That's why this size and weight is, length and weight is increasing. And if you are looking into the muscles, hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the muscles will occur. That is, size of the muscles will increase and number of muscle cells also will increase. And it is due to the influence of estrogen and progesterone. The size is increasing due to the effect of progesterone. And stretching of the muscles will occur. The muscle fiber further elongate beyond 20th week due to the distension by the growing uterus. This will make the uterine wall to become thinner towards the term, and finally it will be measuring around 1.5 centimeter. That is, when the fetus is growing, we know that it will be stretching the uterus. If you are inflating a balloon, if you are pushing more and more amount of air into the balloon, we know that the balloon will become thin because of the excessive stretching. The same thing will happen for the uterus also. When the size of the baby is increasing, the muscle fibers will start to stretch and it will get elongated. From 20th week onwards, it will increase, and finally it will become thin, and the thickness of the uterus will come up to 1.5 centimeter or less at term. And if you are looking into the muscle fibers, 3 layers of muscle fibers are there. Outer longitudinal, it will be like a hood, it is lying like a hood over the fundus, and some fibers are continuous and it connects with the round ligaments also. The inner muscles are arranged in circular fashion. It is scanty and have sphincter-like arrangement around the tubal prefaces and internal os. And intermediate muscles, it is thickest and strongest layer arranged in crisscross fashion through which the blood vessels are run. So these inner muscles are having circular in nature, especially towards the lower orifice, internal os, or towards the lower portion of the uterus. It is exactly in circular in nature, and it will be like a tube. And the intermediate muscles are arranged in crisscross fashion, and it is around the blood vessels. So after the delivery, what will happen means, when the muscles are getting contracted, these muscles which are arranged in crisscross fashion and circular fashion will act as a ligature or will act as a tie around the blood vessels, and it controls the bleeding. That is, after the delivery, when the placenta is getting separated, we know that all the blood vessels will break and there will be bleeding from the placental side. And how this bleeding is getting controlled means, immediately these muscles will act as a living ligature, or it will be forming a figure of 8 form, and it will just apply as like a tie or ligature around the blood vessel, and it will stop the bleeding. So if you are looking into the muscle fibers, outer longitudinal muscles are there, inner circular muscles are there, and middle muscles are arranged in crisscross fashion. And now we can go to the vascular system of the uterus. The uterine artery diameter become doubles. Already I told you that all the blood vessels will dilate due to the effect of progesterone. Here the uterine artery diameter also will increase, and blood flow to the uterus will increase by 8-fold by 20th week of pregnancy. 8 times increase will occur in the blood flow, and vasodilatation is mainly due to the estradiol and progesterone. Already I told you that. And the veins which are supplying to the uterus also will get dilated, and numerous new lymphatic channels also will open. These vascular changes are pronounced at the placental site. These changes are more at the placental site, and it has for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide and for giving proper supply to the baby. This changes in the placental site already we have seen in the development of placenta. And if you are coming to the weight of the uterus, already I told you that it will be 60 in the non-pregnant stage and it will become up to 1 kilogram. And this increase in the weight of the uterus is due to the hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the uterine muscles, and increase in the size and number of connective tissues, and due to the vascular changes. And if you are looking into the shape, in a non-pregnant stage, the uterus is having a pyriform shape, and the same shape will be there in the early months of pregnancy, but by 12th week it will become almost globular in shape by 12th week of pregnancy, and after that the uterus will start to enlarge, and the shape again it may come to a pyriform stage by 28th week, but at 36th week, that is at term, it will become spherical or globular in shape. And if you are looking into the position of the uterus, we know that the normal uterus, already we have seen in the anatomy and physiology, it is anteverted, or it is lying over the bladder, leaning forward. So this position will exaggerated in the early weeks when the fetus is getting implanted at the fundal region of the uterus, that is at the top portion of the uterus. Again, when the weight of the fundal region is increasing, this anteversion will increase, and it will be applying pressure over the bladder in the earlier week of pregnancy. That is, anteversion will increase, so it will be lying fully over the bladder, and this enlarged uterus may lie over the bladder. Afterwards, later again, when the size of the baby is increasing, it will become erect, and it will come to the long axis of the, that is, it will be in the same axis of the maternal spine. But again, it will be having a tendency for anteversion, but when the fetus is growing, it will become erect. And next is contractions of the uterus, that is otherwise known as Braxton Hicks contractions. Braxton Hicks contraction, these are irregular, infrequent, spasmodic and painless contractions of the uterus, and it is not associated with the dilatation of the cervix. Remember this, it is not associated with the dilatation of the cervix. But during the time of delivery, these contractions will become regular, and it will become frequent, and it will be with pain, and it will be associated with the dilatation of the cervix, and it ends up with the delivery of the baby. So this is the difference between Braxton Hicks contraction, which is occurring during the pregnancy, and normal uterine contractions, which is occurring at the time of delivery. Okay, this is a contraction which is occurring during the pregnancy. And next is endometrium. Structural and secretory activities of the endometrium will increase, and the main changes in the endometrium already we have seen due in the fertilization. That is, already I told you that 3 layers will get formed. Decidua, the endometrium during pregnancy is known as decidua. The decidua is having 3 layers. All those things we have seen. If you are having any doubt, you please go through the video about the fertilization. And if you are coming to the isthmus of the uterus, during the first trimester, the isthmus hypertrophies, and it will get elongated to about 3 times when compared with the original length, and it will become soft. And if you are coming to the cervix of the uterus, hypertrophy and hyperplasia of the cells of the cervix also will occur, and the blood supply to the cervix also will increase, and this increased blood supply and hypertrophy and hyperplasia leads to the softening of the cervix, and that is known as the Goodell sign. That is, if you are doing the per-vaginal examination, if you are palpating the cervix, the cervix will be soft, and that is known as the Goodell sign. And the squamous epithelial cells of the cervix will become hyperactive, and the excessive growth of the cells, mucosal cells of the cervix will occur, and intraepithelial cells of the cervix also will occur, and this mucosal cell will get stimulated, and it will start to produce copious, tenacious, hard mucus, and it will be plugging the cervix during the time of pregnancy. That is, a tenacious, hard mucus secretion will be plugging or will be acting as like a plug of the cervix during the pregnancy, and that mucus plug is known as operculum, and it gives protection to the uterus and to the fetus. That is, it prevents the invasion of microorganisms from the outside, and the cervix will be bulky during the time of pregnancy. And this operculum, when the cervix is dilating during the time of labor, that is, during the time of pregnancy, the cervix will be fully closed, and it will be plugged with this operculum. And during time of labor, when the cervix is dilating, cervix is like a canal or like a pipe. When it is getting dilated, this mucus plug will come out of the cervix, and it will be, when this hard mucus secretion, when it is getting removed, it may produce damage to the minute blood vessels over there, and mild bleeding also will occur. So this blood stained mucus discharges will come out through the vagina when the cervix is getting dilated, and that is known as show. The mucus plug which is coming out of the uterus during the time of delivery, and if you are coming to the fallopian tube, the length of the fallopian tube also will increase, the tube will become congested, and the muscles of the fallopian tube also will get hypertrophy. All these changes are due to the effect of progesterone, and it is not only occurring in the reproductive organs, this is occurring in the complete maternal body. Vasodilatation because of the progesterone, and deposition of fat cells, hypertrophy and hyperplasia, all those things will occur all over the body, and one is due to the effect of progesterone, and second, already I told you that all the hormones in the maternal body will increase during the time of pregnancy. So the growth hormone level also will increase, and that is a reason, that is one reason for this increase in the size of the cells. And if you are coming to the ovary, growth and function of the corpus luteum will reach maximum by 8th week of pregnancy. Corpus luteum already we have seen. In case if you are having any doubt, you please go through the previous video about the menstrual cycle. You will get a clear picture about the corpus luteum. And this corpus luteum will produce progesterone and little amount of estrogen also, and it will give a comfortable environment for the growth of the ovum. And control and formation and maintenance of decidua is the function of the corpus luteum. That is, corpus luteum directly it is producing estrogen and progesterone, and the function of estrogen and progesterone is formation and maintenance of endometrium during pregnancy. And this high levels of estrogen and progesterone during the time of pregnancy, it will inhibit the ripening of the new follicles from the ovary. That's why we are not getting ovulation during the time of pregnancy. And if you are coming to the breast, the size of the breast will increase, and this is also due to the hypertrophy and proliferation of the ducts because of the effects of estrogen and progesterone, and blood supply to the breast also will increase. And if you are looking into the nipples will become large, erectile, and pigmentation of the nipple also will increase. This size increase is due to the growth hormone, and this other changes, vascularity, erectile function is due to the increased vascularity, and deep pigmentation, already I told you that when the hormone levels are increasing, melanocytic hormone also will increase, and that is the reason for the increased pigmentation around the nipples. And the sebaceous glands around the nipples will get hypertrophied, and those sebaceous glands are known as Montgomery tubercles. Usually the sebaceous glands will be there around the breast, and its function is lubrication. And this sebaceous glands will get hypertrophied, or the size of the sebaceous glands will increase, and those hypertrophied sebaceous glands are now known as Montgomery tubercles. And if you are looking into the nipple, already I told you that it will become dark pigmented. An outer zone with the less pigmented area also will appear around the nipples, and that outer zone is known as the secondary areola. Already one dark pigmented area is there just around the nipples, that is known as primary areola, and outer to that an irregular less pigmented area will be there, that is known as the secondary areola. And secretion of colostrum, that is, colostrum is the first breast milk, and you can squeeze it from the 12th week of pregnancy. See, if you are looking into the picture, you can see in the case of non-lactating mother, the alveoli of the breast will be like this, and the blood vessels also will be thin, and the nipple also will be having less size. But if you are coming to the breast during the pregnancy, the alveoli will become, size of the alveoli will increase, blood vessels also will get dilated, and the size of the nipple also will increase, and here you can see the Montgomery tubercles mild projections. And if you are coming to the skin, cutaneous changes in the face, you can see the chloasma gravidarum or pregnancy mask. That is, this is the pregnancy mask or chloasma gravidarum, that is pigmentation over the cheek, forehead and around the eyes. This pigmentation is known as pregnancy mask or chloasma gravidarum, and this is also due to the excessive production of melanocytic hormone, and this will disappear after the pregnancy. And if you are coming to the abdomen, already we know that size of the abdomen will increase, and if you are looking into the skin of the abdomen, you can see linea nigra will occur. That is a brownish black pigmented area in the midline stretching from the siphisternum to the symphysis pubis. That is from the xiphoid process of the sternum. That is from here to the up to the symphysis pubis. Through the center, a dark pigmented line will be there. That is known as the line. That is known as the linea nigra. And another change is stria gravidarum. You can see these brownish lines. See, these are the stretch marks. These are slightly depressed linear marks with varying length and breadth found during pregnancy. This is due to the excessive stretching of the skin during the pregnancy. These stretch marks are known as the stria gravidarum. And after delivery, now you can see it is almost pink or brownish in color. After delivery, what will happen means these stretch marks will remain over the skin and its color will get changed. It will become silvery in nature. It will be having a white silvery appearance, and that time it is known as stria albicans. Stria albicans. During pregnancy it is known as stria gravidarum, and after delivery it will be named as stria albicans. And if you are coming to the hematological changes, first we can see the blood volume. Increase in the vascularity of the enlarging uterus will increase the blood volume which is applying to the uterus. The blood volume starts to increase from about 6 weeks and extends rapidly thereafter to 40 to 50% above the non-pregnant stage by 30 to 32 weeks. That is, the amount of blood in the body will increase by 40 to 50%. For example, if the lady is having 6 liters of blood, it will increase 50%. So 50% of the 6 is around 3 liters. So it will be 6 plus 3, around 9 liters of blood will be there in the maternal body during the time of pregnancy. That is the thing which is happening to the blood. And if you are coming to the plasma volume, that also will increase, and it will increase almost parallels to the increase in the blood volume. And that also will reach up to 50% by term. The total plasma volume increase is up to 1.25 liters. And next is RBC and hemoglobin. The RBC volume also will increase to 20 to 30%, and this helps, this increased amount of RBC helps for meeting the oxygen requirement of the baby, because the RBC contains hemoglobin and this hemoglobin is carrying oxygen, we know that. And when the hemoglobin level is increasing, maximum transport of oxygen will occur from the mother to the baby. But already in the blood volume we have seen that blood volume is increasing up to 50%, but here RBC is increasing only up to 20 to 30%. And this difference in the volume and amount of RBC leads to the hemodilution. So if you are checking the hemoglobin level, there will be a fall in the hemoglobin level by 2% when comparing with the non-pregnant value. Actually the level of RBC and hemoglobin is increasing, but when comparing the blood volume increase, it is not having the same percentage. So chance for hemodilution, or the hemodilution will occur, and that leads to the fall in hemoglobin level during the pregnancy. And if you are coming to the immune system, in the second and third trimester, the action of polymorphonuclear leukocytes may be depressed, and it is the reason for the susceptibility for infection. That is, during the pregnancy, the WBC count will be decreasing, leukocytes count will be decreasing, and actually it is for the survival of the baby, because if the body is considering baby as a foreign body, the body will take measures to eject that foreign body out. So that should not happen. That's why the body is purposefully reducing the amount of leukocytes. And when the amount of leukocyte is increasing, naturally the immune power of the body of the mother also will decrease. That's why pregnant ladies are more susceptible for the infection. So we should take care of them particularly. And if you are thinking about the plasma protein, it increases from the normal 180 grams to 230 grams. And due to the hemodilution, that is increased plasma volume will occur. Already I told you that the plasma concentration level falls from 7 grams to 6 grams. And if you are coming to the coagulation factors, pregnancy is a hypercoagulable stage. That is, the fibrinogen and clotting factor level will increase during the pregnancy, especially towards the end of the pregnancy. That is in the third trimester of the pregnancy or near to the term, the coagulation factors will increase, and it's having an advantage. After the delivery of the baby, when the placenta is getting separated, I told you that blood vessels will get damaged and there will be bleeding from the placental side. So because of these high levels of coagulating factors, immediately clot formation will occur, and by that way it prevents the bleeding after the delivery. So in that aspect it is positive. So remember one thing, all the blood cells are increasing during the pregnancy except leukocytes. Next, if you are coming to the metabolic changes, the total metabolic rate in the body will be increasing because the mother is supposed to meet the metabolic needs of the growing fetus also. And the metabolic rate will be increased to an extent of 30% high when comparing that of average non-pregnant woman. And if you are coming to the protein metabolism, the nitrogenous balance throughout the pregnancy also will increase. At term, the fetus and placenta will be having around 500 grams of protein, and the maternal body also will be gaining 500 grams of protein during the pregnancy. That's why we are supposed to give more amount of protein to the mother during the time of pregnancy. And if you are coming to the carbohydrate metabolism, insulin secretion in the body will increase. Already I told you, all the hormone production will increase, and this leads to maximum absorption and conversion of glucose and amino acids to glycogen. And this high insulin production is due to the hyperplasia and hypertrophy of the beta cells of the pancreas. And this will produce more insulin, and that favors or that helps for the lipogenesis or fat storage, and this mechanism ensures the continuous availability of glucose to the fetus. Even if the mother is not taking food also, from this fat cells the baby will be getting adequate sufficient amount of glucose. Next, about the fat metabolism. Average fat metabolism is, that is average fat storage during pregnancy is 3 to 4 kilogram, and it will be stored in the abdominal wall, breast, hip and thighs, and this is the reason for the weight gain during the pregnancy. And if you are coming to the iron metabolism, iron will be stored in ferrous form from the duodenum and jejunum and is released into the circulation as transferrin. And 10% of ingested iron will be absorbed during the pregnancy, and the total iron requirement during pregnancy is around 1000 milligram total requirement during the entire pregnancy. And if you are not giving iron supplementation, there is a chance for drop in the hemodilution and serum iron and serum ferritin concentration at pregnancy, because already I told you that even if hemoglobin level is increasing also, due to the hemodilution, due to the disproportion between the blood volume and the hematocrit level, hemodilution will be there, so the hemoglobin level will be less. That's why we are supposed to give iron supplementation during the pregnancy, and the baby also will be absorbing iron. So from 7th month onwards, the baby also will start to store iron. So we are supposed to give iron supplementation during the pregnancy, especially from 7th month onwards. And if you are coming to the weight gain, in the earlier weeks of the pregnancy, sometimes the lady may lose the weight due to the excessive nausea and vomiting, but later the weight gain will mother will start to gain the weight, and in the last 2 weeks of pregnancy, sometimes there is a chance for reduction in the weight, but total weight gain, if you are thinking, it will be 11 to 12 kilogram. Total weight gain during pregnancy in a healthy mother is 11 to 12 kilogram. and it is distributed 1 kilogram in the first trimester, 5 kilogram in second and third trimester. And this total weight gain is distributed in the body approximately as reproductive weight gain is 6 kilogram and net maternal weight gain is 6 kilogram. And the reproductive weight gain includes the weight gain of the fetus, placenta, all those things. So now let us see how much is there for the fetus. Approximate weight of the fetus will be around 3 to 3.5 kilogram during the at term, that we know that. So the fetus will be having 3.5. Placenta will be around 600 grams. Amniotic fluid will be around 800 to 1 liter. And uterus will be, already told you that also will be up around 800 to 1 kilogram. And breast also will be around 400 grams. That is, fat deposition will occur in the breast. That will increase the size of the breast. So the weight of the breast also will increase. And the protein deposition protein storage also will increase in the body, and that will come around 3.5 kilogram. And blood volume also will increase. I already told you that will come around 1.3 liters or 1.5 kilogram. That is, if we are thinking in liter, it is liters. And extracellular fluid also will increase up to 1.2 kilogram. So altogether it leads to approximately 10 to 12 kilogram of weight gain during the pregnancy. And calcium metabolism and locomotor system. Relaxation of the pelvic ligaments and muscles occurs because of the influence of estrogen and relaxin, and it reaches maximum during the last week of pregnancy. Maximum relaxation should be there, because then only it allows for accommodating the fetus. Stretching also should be there. Stretching of the muscles also should be there. And another thing, during the time of pregnancy, uterus is not supposed to contract. If the uterus is contracting, that may ends up with the delivery of the baby, or it may expel the baby out. So these things will be prevented by this relaxation effect. And increased lordosis also will occur. That is, when the size of the abdomen is increasing, you might have observed the pregnant ladies, they will be having a the inward curvature of the spine will be increasing. So the lordosis will be increasing because of this large abdomen. And this increased lordosis during pregnancy is named as proud of pregnancy. And especially it is due to the enlargement of the uterus, and due to the enlargement of the uterus and due to the stretching of the abdominal muscles and ligaments, the lady will get the back pain. And if you are coming to the other systems, especially about the respiratory system, the shape of the chest and circumference of the chest will increase in pregnancy by 6 centimeter. Chest circumference will increase by 6 centimeter, and increase in oxygen consumption will be there because the metabolic rate will be increasing and there is a need for baby also. So naturally the consumption rate of the oxygen will be increased, and the mucosa of the nasopharynx will become hyperemic and edematous. Nasal mucosa will become edematous and more vascularization also will be there. And actually pregnancy is a stage of hyperventilation, and during the pregnancy increased tidal volume also will be there because of the increased need of oxygen. And the woman will be having the shortness of breath because of this increased tidal volume due to the hyperventilation. And another reason is towards the end of the pregnancy, that is at term, this pregnant uterus will be decreasing the vertical diameter of the chest cavity. That is, it will push the diaphragm upward. When the size of the uterus is increasing, it will occupy the entire abdominal cavity and it will reach up to the Seaford process of the sternum, and it will push the diaphragm upward, and that may decrease the diameter of the chest cavity, and that leads to the shortness of breath, especially in the last trimester. And pregnancy is a state of respiratory alkalosis also. Anyway, altogether, increased oxygenation will be there, increased tidal volume also will be there, and pregnancy is a stage of hyperventilation, and this helps for maximum availability of oxygen to the baby and for meeting the increased metabolic needs of the body. Next, about the cardiovascular system. If you are looking into the heart, muscles, especially the left ventricle, will get hypertrophied. That leads to the enlargement of the heart. And the growing uterus, already I told you that it will be pushing the diaphragm upward, and this will push the heart also upward to the left. During the pregnancy, the heart rate and stroke volume will increase. That is, the amount of blood which is pumping out of the heart will increase, and it is due to the increased blood volume, and it helps for meeting the increased oxygen demand of the maternal tissues and of the fetus. So mainly remember that the cardiac output will be increasing, and this increased cardiac output is due to the increased blood volume, and it helps for meeting the increased oxygen demand of the body. Next, cardiac output already we have seen it will increase to the maximum by the end of the first trimester. In the third trimester also rise will be there, or sometimes there won't be any change. In the third trimester it will remain same, and if this cardiac output will be low in the sitting and in the supine position, and it will be high in the right or left lateral or knee chest position. That's why we are telling the mothers to be in the lateral position, especially in the left lateral position during the time of pregnancy. When they are lying down, instead of lying in the supine position, it is better for them to lie in the left lateral position, because it will increase the cardiac output, and when the cardiac output is increasing, maximum availability of oxygen will be there for the baby. So advise the mother to be in the left lateral position when they are taking rest. And the capacity of the veins and venules also will increase. Arterial walls will relax and dilate due to the effect of progesterone. This already we have seen. And if you are looking into the blood pressure, during the mid trimester there will be a hypotension, there will be a drop in the blood pressure, and it is due to the hemodilution. In later pregnancy, hypotension may occur in 10% of the women, and it will be more in unsupported supine position, and this is known as the supine hypotensive syndrome. That is, when the mother is changing her position suddenly, there is a chance for hypotension, and that is known as, that is in the upright position especially, that is known as the supine hypotensive syndrome. The pressure of the gravid uterus compresses the inferior vena cava, and this will reduce the venous return, especially in the supine position. The pregnant uterus, so the increased size of uterus will compress the inferior vena cava, and that will reduce the cardiac blood supply to the heart, and when the blood supply to the heart is decreasing, cardiac output also will decrease by 25 to 30%, and there is a chance for falling the blood pressure also. When the output is decreasing, blood pressure, cardiac output is decreasing, blood pressure will come down naturally, that it will come down 10 to 15%. And if you are coming to the regional distribution of blood flow, already I told you that cardiac output is increasing. So where this increased output is growing, that now we are going to see. The uterine blood flow will increase. That is, in the normal case it is only 50 milligram per minute, but in the case of pregnant it will come up to 750 ml per minute at term. And if you are coming to the pulmonary blood flow, in the normal case it is 6000 ml per minute, it will be increased around 2500 ml per minute. So altogether it will come around 8500 ml per minute. And if you are looking into the blood flow to the kidneys, normally it is 800 ml, it will get increased by 400 ml by 16th week, and it will remain same. That is, altogether 1200 ml will be there. And if you are coming to the other areas, even to the peripheries and to the other areas also, the blood supply will increase due to the vasodilatation of the arteries, and that leads to the heat sensation and increased sweating of the body, and that gives the woman a stuffy nose feeling. That is, increased vascularization to the nose and the hypertrophy of the nasal region, that gives a stuffy nose feeling for the woman. So the complaints such as heat sensation, sweating and stuffy nose, all those things are due to the increased blood flow during the. And now if you are coming to the urinary system, dilatation of the ureters and renal pelvis and renal calyces will occur. The kidneys will enlarge in length by 1 centimeter, and the renal blood flow will increase 50 to 75%, and it will maximum, this increase will occur by 16th week, and the same will be maintained till the end of the pregnancy, till the 34th week, and later it will start to decrease. and the glomerular filtration rate also will increase up to 50% throughout the pregnancy. So this will help for, that is, increased renal flow and increased urinary output will help for excreting the waste products, because we know that when the metabolic rate is increasing, the waste products also will be increasing, and already the fetus is also growing, and inside the fetal body also the metabolism is happening, and the metabolic waste from the fetal body is also getting expelled through the maternal circulation only. So for excreting those waste, the kidney supply, blood supply to the kidney will increase, and the filtration rate from the kidney also will increase. And if you are coming to the ureters will become atonic due to the high progesterone level, and dilatation of the ureters above the pelvic rim will be there, and due to the dilatation of the ureters there is a chance for stasis of the urine, especially in the case of primary gravida mothers. Even if more amount of urine is getting produced also, sometimes some amount of urine will remain inside the bladder itself, and it is due to the dilatation of the ureters, and this dilatation is due to the effect of progesterone. Already I told you that the progesterone will produce the dilatation of the smooth muscles in the entire body. And next is bladder. Increased frequency of maturation will be there in the first trimester of pregnancy. While we were discussing about the position of the uterus, I told you that in the first trimester of the pregnancy, that is up to 12th week, especially between 6 to 8 weeks, the uterus will be anteverted, and this anteversion will increase when the weight of the uterus is increasing, and this heavy anteverted uterus will be lying over the bladder, and that pressure over the bladder leads to the increased frequency of urination in the first trimester. Later, when the uterus is becoming erect, that pressure will get relieved and the frequency of urination also will decrease. But again, towards the end of the pregnancy, when the fetus is coming down, we know that for the delivery the baby is supposed to come down. That is, descent of the baby is occurring. Descent means it's coming down. When the baby is coming down, again it will start to apply pressure over the bladder, and again the lady will get the frequency of maturation. So in the first trimester and in the last trimester, the lady will be having the frequency of urination. And there is a chance for stress incontinence, and it is due to the urethrosphincter weakness. If the sphincters are weak, there is a chance for involuntary passage of the urine. Next, about the alimentary system. Due to the increased blood supply, the gums will become spongy and it will be congested, and sometimes gum bleeding also will occur. And chance of peptic ulcer is less, and atonicity of the gut lead to constipation. See, I told you that progesterone is dilating the smooth muscles. This dilatation of the smooth muscles of the large intestine leads to decreased peristaltic movement, and that may lead to the constipation. And if you are coming to the liver and gallbladder, liver function will get depressed. High cholesterol level during pregnancy is due to this decreased liver function, and that may lead to the formation of stone. And next, about the nervous system. Temperamental or mood changes will occur throughout the pregnancy and even after delivery also. Chance for nausea, vomiting, mental irritability and sleeplessness is there, and it is also due to the psychological background. And chance for postnatal depression, psychosis, all those things are there for the lady after the delivery. And next we can see the changes in the endocrine system. The placenta is producing some hormones that we have seen in the placental development. The high levels of estrogen and progesterone produced by the placenta, it is responsible for the breast changes, skin pigmentation, uterine enlargement in the first trimester. And human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone, which is getting secreted by the placenta, and this helps for the maintenance of the corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum is producing progesterone actually. And during the first trimester, this HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone, will be excreting through the urine, and this is the base for the pregnancy test, immunology urine pregnancy test. When you are doing, actually we are detecting the presence of this HCG in the urine. And next hormone is human placental lactogen from the placenta. It stimulates the growth of the breast, and it helps for the metabolism of glucose in the fetal body. Next, pituitary hormones, the secretion of prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, thyrotropic hormone and melanocytic stimulating hormone will increase. And this follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone secretion will be inhibited, or that will decrease because of the high progesterone and estrogen level. And the prolactin level will be increasing, but its action is suppressed. Action also will be suppressed during the pregnancy, but after the delivery it will start to act and it will produce a breast milk. And the posterior pituitary gland is producing oxytocin, and this oxytocin is producing uterine contraction, and throughout the pregnancy actually it is producing mild amount of oxytocin, but it is not producing uterine contraction because in the earlier pregnancy the uterus is less sensitive to the oxytocin, but towards the term or towards the end of the pregnancy the uterine muscles will become more sensitive to the, or sensitivity of the uterine muscles to the oxytocin will increase, and the production of oxytocin also will increase towards the end of the pregnancy, and that stimulates a uterine contraction, and that uterine contraction helps for expelling the baby out during the process of labor. Next, about the thyroid gland size will increase, and it is due to the hyperplasia of the thyroid gland, and vascular blood supply to the thyroid gland also will increase, and iodine, that's because of that more amount of thyroid hormone production also will be there. So when the size of the gland is increasing and the production is increasing, it will give an impression of hyperthyroidism, but naturally because of the hemodilution and other effects, the pregnancy level, the thyroid hormone level in the blood will be normal, and this high thyroid hormone production will help for increasing the metabolic rate and increased oxygen consumption of the fetus also.